Hello, all my fellow nerds out there. This is Dorkle Nerd Richie, and welcome back once again to Our Life Now and Forever Step 1 demo. Last episode we finished the prologue. I know, finally, we're done with the prologue. It's in 5 episodes. But now, but now we're moving on to Step 1, and our character looks a little something like this still. Yeah, makes sense. uh, and our relationship with Chu and Tamarack and Chu has been updating as we go along, as far as I'm aware. Anyways, this episode we're gonna be going through moments one, walks, and if we have time, if it's short enough, maybe wheels. But let's go ahead and get into it. Step one, moment one, walks. Yes. Oh, I forgot I can actually change my clothes too. Um, I think I like the way I am, honestly. It looks fine. Yeah, that's fine. Hmm. Hello again. We have another brief tutorial for you. It's time to explain the concept of linked moments. All scenes in the game have bits and pieces and certain choices that will end up impacting later parts of the story. However, there are some sections that are especially tied together. The moment walks and the moment wheels are an example of that. They're linked moments. Even even though you chose walks, you can still pivot to the wheels moment. That's because two stories share an introduction. The two stories share an introduction. If you chose wheels first instead, the opening scene will be the same. In the linked opening scene, Chu and Tamarack have different ideas on how to spend a weekend. You can be a tiebreaker and leave it up to them, or leave it up to them. Either way, the group will plan to do other suggestions on another Saturday. When or if you choose to do the second moment in the pair, the game will acknowledge how it was already a set plan you made in advance. If you replay the game, it's definitely suggested to switch up the order to do moments and see how things change. There aren't any other linked moments in step 1, though there will be more in steps 2 and 3. It was Saturday, one of the 2 days in the week when there was no school at all. As much as you liked school, having time off was good. You had lunch at home with Ma a little while ago. When she tackled the after meal cleanup, your mom encouraged you to go outside while the weather was good. There was only a 17% chance of rain, she told you. And then she went on to ramble about how it seemed in town anything over 20% was essentially a guarantee of at least some drizzling. The talk about weather had gone on for another minute before she remembered you were standing there listening. Ma urged you again and to leave her to the dishes and go enjoy your weekend. it was it was under those circumstances that Chu Lin had gathered both you and Tamarack Bauman in the center of the cul-de-sac for a neighborhood meeting. He had something he wanted to ask. Do you guys have bikes? No. She came up with a reply immediately. What? Chu shouted a reaction, but was even more instant somehow. His brain had been prepared for anything other than a yes. How do you live without a bike? Like this! The golden-haired girl did a little jig to show how great she was at living with no bike. She tapped her toes and waved her hands in the air. Chu leaned his face away from the show. Alright, okay, what about something else? Anything with wheels? Just like that, her limbs flopped down again. Tamarack squished her lips from one side of her face to the other, thinking. I've got a scooter for my mom and dad in one of the closets. That works. She rolled with the exchange and expectations. Then he glanced at you. Richie? Yeah, I have a scooter too. Oh, same thing, same thing! Tamarack started the bikeless dance up again. Chu spewed in relief. Finally, Chu revealed the reason he'd been so keen on all this wheel talk. I'm meeting with the club today. Oh, choose boys club or boys club, the, whatever they decide to call it. Him and those other two older kids. Baxter, the mysterious boy, and the one you weren't sure about. Is sort of it is sort of a club thing, but you can hang out with us. I thought I thought we could go on a ride together and everybody would like it. Drew scratched the back of his head with his left hand. Were you and Tamarack the only kids in Oregon? Wait, this way, Golden Grove, Oregon. Okay, that makes way more sense. That makes far more sense because why my character was far away because that actually is very far away from where I am. The only kids in Oregon who didn't have a bike? All Chu's friends must have, so maybe it'll be okay if we go on foot. We got this whole afternoon and the whole group. I don't want to go to the stinky town. Sorry. Calling Golden Grove the stinky town got a stunned chuckle from Chu, but Tamarack was totally serious. Why can't we ride things in the neighborhood? Because we live here? We always stay in the neighborhood. It'd be cool to leave while we can. I bet you like to go like where we go, cause it's a park. There's plenty of trees and stuff around. Have you seen that, huh? It's on the opposite side of town from us, back where the high school is. The park is the best place to ride for speed and tricks. There's no cars or hills. You just be walking around. You just walking around is good too. Tamarack narrowed her eyes in silence. That itself was an obvious answer to Chu's question. She had not seen the park. Wait, you did? So did Chu. The neighbor on the right was thinking hard. Then she let out a sharp gasp as she hopped into the air like a tire popping. Is that a special thing? Whoa! Laughing and shaking his head, Chu barely managed to give Tamarack a straight answer. No, it's not the park. That thing is totally in the forest. His snickers and voice got quieter the more they went on until you could hardly hear him. I didn't remember I said that. I should have written it down before school. After the total swerve Tamarack had managed to pull, Chu took control over the situation again. Yeah, I could show you that if you want to do it. It was happening. You might really find out what the special thing was. Chu was totally unfazed by your reaction. He was too committed in going on with his own explanations. The rest of the club would come with us too. We'd have to give up on riding through the town and seeing the park though. For someone talking about not doing what he wanted to do, Chu's voice was light and carefree. Okay, I want to do something special. Cool. Me too. If you guys see a special thing, the possibility of going off into the woods brighten your mood. You know what? Yeah, we gotta do a special thing. Kind of being in the clap and chant in time. As if she was casting a spell to make your wishes come true. Yeah. But show us a special thing. Show us a special thing. Stuffing his hands into his pockets, Chu tilted his chin to one side and smiled, decorating it. The smile decorating his face was way too big to come across as nonchalant as he was posing. All you gotta do to make this work is promise to hang out again. We can go one place this time. Next time we'll do the other thing. Everybody will get everything and nobody will miss out on anything cool. Ah, that fixes it. Looks like Tamarack was committed to playing without the boys' club after all. She just agreed to spend 2 weekend days doing so without blinking. In fact, she was super perky about it. The roundabout trip of words Chu laid out had taken Tamarack from a point of complete disinterest to feeling like boys' club activities were pure genius. At some point, Chu had shifted his hands behind his back. He kept a wide, I can't believe it's all coming together grin as he popped up and down on the balls of his feet. The thing was, Tamarack would have gone over that without Chu's fancy footwork. You were certain of it. He didn't need to try that hard. She was crazily over the top with how he got along with people, but Tamarack was extra straightforward. Since both of you wanted to see a special thing, I'd say it makes sense to do that idea first. Baxter and Darren don't know the plan, and anyways, they're not gonna care if it's riding to the park or going to the forest place, especially if we're gonna do both of them on different days. What do you think? He asked with great eagerness. This was the final step of his perfect path Chu had laid out. You couldn't lie to yourself. He got you interested. Also, you were curious about what might happen. Yeah. Yeah, we can all go to the special place. It's a promise. It was. It was. You and your friends had a promise. Aww. Step 1. Walks. Oh. He started suddenly from the thought of his own head, eyes opening wide. We're not going riding. I gotta call the guys so that they'll bring their bikes. Be back in a second. Chu gave a thumbs up and dashed away before anybody could say anything about it. Tamarack kept her eyes fixed on the retreating boy, as if he might be trying to escape and not show her the special place after all. Chu shut house's door behind him, and the neighborhood went completely silent. A realization came to you too in Chu's wake. If you were leaving the neighborhood, your mom was going to need to know about it. Ma didn't stop you from doing stuff. She just liked to be aware of what was going on. Tamarack, I'm gonna tell my mom what we're doing, okay? Okay, I'm gonna stay right here. Yeah, she was determined not to let Chu get away from this. With that, you left. You found Ma in the kitchen and explained what was going on. She thought that was a wonderful idea and appreciated you keeping her abreast of your busy schedule and, and hoped you'd have fun. Ma wanted you to be home before dark, though. You could do that. Tamarack waved from her spot in the road. She hadn't moved an inch and was the only one there. Chu's job wasn't done yet. It took a long time of standing there, probably 10 minutes before Chu came back. Eventually, though, he burst through the white door yelling ahead of himself. He must have agreed that it took forever, cause he wasn't wasting even a second then. It's all good. When Autumn arrived at the center of the cul-de-sac, he wiped his forehead with his gloved hand and talked some more. Everybody ready? Yes. Tamarack's voice was low and serious. I am very ready. I'm ready too. Oh, I right-clicked. And so you and your two neighbors set out for places unknown. Well, unknown to most of you. The first leg of the journey, took you down the hilly road. It was the only path out of your neighborhood. You had to follow it, even though it was to get to a super secret location. Your small group marched along until you'd arrive at the heart of town. You had to crane your neck to take in the full view of the swirling arch marked Golden Grove. It towered over the main street of all the people in it. But it didn't distract you for long. You scurried out of the road before a car could come by. Chu and Tamarack were right behind you. Being there felt different that afternoon. You had to pass through a part of Golden Grove on the way to school, and your ma had taken you around town to run errands and stuff. But none of that was the same as wandering on the main street just for fun and because you could. Tamarack suddenly came up to your side. She made a squashed face out of sight of the local boy, conveying that she was for sure still didn't like the stinky town. And she was being silly. The town looked nice. You couldn't get why. It was so cool. Chu couldn't stay out of an even a wordless exchange for long. He began to list out exactly what the buildings were. You know, in case you and Tamara couldn't tell by looking or reading the signs. There's a barber store, clothing place, library, an antique shop, thrift store. At that, he paused, the bullet points to fit in a sly joke. Though, not like you can tell the difference between those two. They're both selling old junk no one wants anymore. Chu and Tamarack snickered together. Not even Golden Grove itself was safe from Chu's teasing ways. My Omi loves antique shops and thrift stores. Yeah, she does. Oh, and down there on the corner is the corner store. You've never been in, right? It's a great place. Tons of stuff. It usually only costs a few dollars or less. I've gotta say some. I've gotta say something about it, but let's wait for the club. And that's what he did. Chu zipped his lips and folded his arms. You guessed he wasn't tired of keeping people in suspense, even if it was revealing one mystery. Timrick let out a sputtery, puttery breath and slumped against the brick wall behind you. Okay, we can wait again. We can wait again. You, Tamarack, and Chu held down the meetup spot. Random adults passed by every once in a while. A lot of them said hello to Chu. They knew him. Tamarack said hi to all of them. She didn't know any of those people. It took even longer than it did for Chu to make those calls. But then Tamarack flung her arms towards the other side of the street. She sounded the alarm and brought an end to the watch. There! You followed her guidelines and a pair of figures were speeding around the corner. Woo! Darren! Baxter! Chu sprang up to the curb of the sidewalk. He waved the two over with both arms. The missing members of the club joined the group, settling exactly into place at Chu's sides, like the gloves he wore on each hand. Hi. Hey. Darren beamed at Chu's enthusiasm for a second. It faded fast when he glanced at who else was there. Looking was all he did, though. He wasn't going to point out obvious again. Darren had resigned himself to hanging out with more than the usual boys-only trio. It was better than loudly being against it. Baxter's expression wasn't exactly happy either, but even though he was smiling, that's because the smirk didn't count as being friendly. Hi. And Tarek's greeting was exactly the same as the ones given to total strangers who happened to cross her path. This was the first time you'd all gotten together to do something, and sure was obvious. Alright, people, we're all here. We know the plan. Special place. Special place. Tamarack whispered those two words in her scarf, anticipation in sharpening tone. Yeah, but before we leave town, let's get supplies. The corner shop is right there. So that's what he meant before. Chu had been planning a detour to the store. Don't go, don't go to the woods unprepared, because the things in the woods are prepared for you. Exactly. Chu could count on his club following his lead and instead looked to the biggest possible source of disagreement, Tamarack. Come on, we can pick some stuff out. It's gonna be great. Tamarack's eyes narrowed, almost like Chu had given her a dare, and she was gonna beat it. Then she went for a messenger bag. From its depths, Tamarack revealed a plastic bag jump packed with cashews, and it was a snack-sized baggie. It was a sandwich-sized one, or it wasn't a snack-sized bag. I've already got food. This isn't even all. I didn't have to pay a thing. Darren brought a hand to his face, astounded. Chu scratched his head, lost. Baxter couldn't care less. He was not involved in the happenings. She actually is prepared. Huh. Yeah, guess you don't have to do that. Your neighbors being on the same page about the plan hadn't lasted long. Chu liked to ride places, Tamarack would rather walk. Tamarack brought her own treats, she preferred to buy snacks. They lived on opposite sides of the cul-de-sac and lived on opposite sides. And you were in the middle of it. Me, Darren, and Baxter still gotta stock up. Richie too, maybe, and it's fun to look around, you know? Tamarack crammed her bag of cashews into a bigger pack once more. Her face of pride had fallen into a frown. Fine, but after that we gotta go to the special place. Tamarack was such a nice and patient girl. Thanks. Richie? Sure, we can go. Awesome. And now, the now complete group's first order of business commenced. You crowded your way through the door at the end of the sidewalk. Ooh, this is a pretty fancy place. Okay, well, fancy as a corner store can be. Having to exist on a single corner really didn't allow for much space for the store part of the corner store. The entire place was probably smaller than your classroom. It was warmer inside and the air was stiller. Wooden panels covered the ground, thick wood beams crossed the ceiling, and shelves tightly packed with familiar snacks were fit in wherever possible. Instead of being inside an extra small shop, it was more like being inside a gigantic treasure chest. You checked out the things closest to the front. She wasn't kidding when he said it had a lot of stuff. Your light steps still clacked against the hard floor. They resounded above the slight hum coming from the fridge in the back. Nearby, Tamarack swished her head this way and that to grasp everything in the new environment as rapidly as possible. One of her eyes, on one twist of her eyes, on one twist, her eyes met yours. And she didn't keep going from there. Tamarack continued to look at you. She grinned. It was too easy for you to know what was on Tamarack's mind. You and her were the same again. It was both of your first times being in this place. After everything you'd already done, you were still newcomers to this town. Meanwhile, Chu and his friends moved into the store as if it was their own living room. They navigated to the chip and cracker aisle without a thought. Left to confront the hundreds or thousands of things there to be bought, you unconsciously padded out your pockets for your clothes. Yeah, a little more than $4 in bills and some change. I think I would be taking as much money as I could. Thoughts in your personal savings were interrupted when your ears caught into a particular conversation. The trio of boys had started chatting about something while wandering the aisles. Who did it before? I don't remember. I can do it. The solution? Did not satisfy Mr. Chu. It did not satisfy Chu Lin. He groaned it dramatically. You're probably the one who handled it last time. You don't remember that, remember? I know that much. Who was before the last time, me or you? Chu definitively jabbed his finger to Darren's shoulder. Baxter was out of the equation for whatever that was. It's been a while since then. It could have been either of us. Refusing to accept the situation so obvious he could see it from a distance, Baxter offered another suggestion. Hey, we could play rock, paper, scissors. Though he knew what he was doing, every inch of Baxter's face and note of his voice expressed amusement. It was only Autumn who was unimpressed then. Darren and Chu heaved sighs in unison, and dipped their heads low before smiling playfully at one another. You know, that's a good idea, right, Darren? Yeah, it'll settle this perfectly. The tallest of the group pulled himself even higher. Ready to test your luck, Autumn? Nah, I don't need luck. It's rock, paper, scissors. And then you heard something different. It was Tamarack speaking specifically to you, but loud enough that it could be heard halfway across the store. What are they talking about? Each boy in the club turned to stare back at her, and the person next to her, you. Darren struck his hands out of his pocket of his vest, and did that thing where he retracted his neck inwards so he didn't have to face people all the way. We're figuring out whose turn it is to buy food. Instead of everybody buying snacks for themselves, our club takes turns, having one person get all the supplies for the whole group to share. Why? Her big eyes were clear of any taunting. It honestly didn't make sense in Tamarack's mind. You pay a lot of times or pay a little every time. It's not gonna make a difference. It's less boring. Oh. The simple line had actually kind of convinced her of the concept. For once, Baxter's contribution was easily accepted. Tamarack didn't have an interest in teasing him, and anything Baxter might have been up to didn't interest her beyond its face value. Right, this makes things fun. This is gonna be funny. Probably. And it's okay if you and Tamarack want to eat from the pile too. We almost never finish it anyway. Thanks, I'll share my stuff too. Awesome. Chu breezily came back around to the original point. Let's get it out of the way. He leaned his weight onto one foot and stuck out a hip, leveled a glance at his club. Winner gets to be Snack King, and Snack King has to pay. Darren and Baxter both nodded, and though only one of them did it with any concern for the possibility, Darren was the warrior. Rock, paper, scissors! The trio of boys chanted in the three words, bouncing their fists to beat on the final point they made their move. Darren had thrown down paper. Baxter was rock. he was the sole loser, which in that case was a win. He, he wouldn't have to buy his snacks. Okay, Baxter, get out. Fine. Baxter lifted his hands and feet, eyes closed for a second. It seemed like he would take this bow without any smugginess business. Except, that was nice of you. He had one last line, given with a sneaky smirk. Well, while you understood Baxter was being snooty, you didn't get exactly how. Chu could only shake his head. I figured you should know since you're gonna be living here from now on. Baxter only uses rock. What? Tamarack went from dead silent to releasing a high-pitched yelp. The volume was enough to cover the entire story at that time. Yep, he's never picked anything else in his whole life. I'm pretty sure he hasn't for as long as I've known him, which is like 2 years. uh, why? Let me tell you. His his eyes squinted along the bottom edge of his nervous smile and pulled out to his lips. Baxter is kind of diabolical. But true distress soon colored Chu's face. He threw his arms. He threw out his arms to physically get his emotion across. Darren, Darren doesn't it feel like cheating to beat him when you already know what he's gonna do? Me and Darren can almost never play paper when he's in the game. The kid in question merely smiled with a lift on his chin. He saw no reason to explain or defend his devious behavior. Despite basically doing nothing, or maybe because of that, Baxter earned himself a friendly shove from Chu. But this time it was alright because Baxter needed to be out of the game. This is the battle between me and Darren. Chu finished ribbing Baxter so he could sharpen his focus towards the real threat. It's on now. I'm ready. The two competitors faced one another for a final bout for the real competition. The title Snack King, and a whole lot of pocket change was on the line. The audience remained still as they prepared their weapons, and then it began. Rock, paper, scissors. On the final word, Darren's fully gloved fingers split into scissors. Chu's partially gloved hand flattened into paper once more. No! The prongs of Darren's scissors instinctively curled inward, but it was too late. No amount of regret could change the facts. Scissors beats paper. We've crowned the new Snack King. Chu managed to blurt out before doubling over the riotous laughter. Hooray! Thank you for the treat, Snack King. Long live the Snack King. Baxter patted Darren's back in support, but he offered to pay for the snacks at the very beginning, and Darren could have used Baxter's strategy against him, but Darren never took the easy way. His victory was an honorable one. Okay, I'll buy the snacks. Yeah, you will. Let's pick him out already. Sure, come on. With a surprisingly not cocky smile, Baxter stretched his arm all the way around Darren's shoulder. The pair of older boys walked ahead. Chu didn't follow. He waited for his friends to be a good few rows down before twisting around towards you and Tamarack. He whispered through his teeth, not beckoning you closer, all while over his shoulder to keep watch. Tamarack took a hop forward, then looked back and forth. When the coast seemed clear, she leaned in to hear whatever message Chu was going to deliver. It wasn't super polite to talk about your friends' behind your friends' backs, but you were willing to hear what it was actually about. I've got another secret for you. Darren doesn't like to play the same thing twice in a row, and he doesn't usually go for Baxter's move either. So most of the time, after a round with Baxter and his rock, Darren ends up going for scissors. I could have let him off the hook too, but I thought it'd be nice for Darren to treat the new kids in town for a change, even if he's only doing it cause he's the Snack King. Make sure to eat a lot of our stuff. Oh, what the heck? Dropbox, not now. That was something for sure. He was a clever kid and a thoughtful one. Tamarack squished her hands over her mouth. You could still hear the throat squeal she made. Your and Tamarack's joy didn't go to Chu's head. There was nothing apparently. He shrugged up his shoulders while his arms were folded. It's kind of funny. The game doesn't matter a lot because they're both so obvious. Oh well, I make a lot of decisions for the group anyway. Spoken like a true club leader. You understood more why he kept showing up in front of you with plans out of nowhere. That was his normal life. Hey, can we get the snacks now? I decided it. She offered a suggestion sweetly. Technically, Chu had already had that idea a minute ago, but he grinned at the attempt. You both knew Tamarack was not somebody who left plans up to Chu. Those two rarely wanting to do the same thing wasn't always a bad thing, you guessed. Let's go with me. Chu strolled off to join Darren and Baxter again. Tamarack stayed hot on the boys' club's heels. She wouldn't be left behind whether she needed to go shopping or not. It'd be good to have something to eat along the way. You consider the shelves surrounding you with new eyes. A jewel from the chest might be yours if you were willing to trade the coins in your pocket for it. Let's go with the cheap snacks. About $1.50 or something. The thing you picked was... Ooh, all these are pretty good options. But we got page 2. Pack of crackers, pretzels, sour gummy. I will go with sour gummies hard. They're one of my favorite little snacks. Even with that, you had enough money to get more. One of the expected things or two of the not so expensive snacks. Save the rest of my money. I'm a smart guy. Eventually, everyone getting something had their choice. The 5 of you had gathered at the back of the store. She was in high spirits over the conclusion. He picked out a bag of spicy, cheesy, crunchy chips. Ooh. Baxter chose sour gummies. Hey, like me. The snack king himself got beef jerky. Darren marched straight to the counter and slapped down a $10 bill. He called to his club without turning around. Bring the stuff over. We've got to ring it up before I can buy it. Coming. Mm-hmm. Wow. Flashing the amount of cash was apparently unbelievable to Tamarack. She watched the exchange happen as though Darren was making food appear out of thin air. She couldn't have bought something even if she wanted to. Darren finished the purchase without any extra fuss. He got a big bag of treats and a little change, and gripped both tightly in his hands. Your turn to pay. Darren cleared out from the register. You stepped up to the counter and it was almost as high as you and piled up your money. The exchange made you think of Ma. You remembered her telling you about Oregon when it was a sure thing you'd be moving there. She talked about how there was no sales tax. The price on the sticker was the real amount you'd pay. Most of the time. Came in handy for you then, trying to figure out what you could have brought when more money would be added onto the sale at checkout would have been a lot harder. And the tax-free sale was done. Remember, Snack King also gets the honor of carrying the goods for us subjects. Darren securely hooked the bag under one arm while stowing his coins in the pocket of his jeans. I know, Baxter. After a pit stop far more eventful than going shopping for snacks sounded like it'd be, the crew of kids left the corner store behind. We're gonna go to the place now. Chu made the announcement as he took the head of the pack. Tamarack was so fluffed up and excited about finally going to a special place, she didn't try to get in front of Chu, or it could have been because she didn't know where she was heading. Special place, special place! The big group surrounding you and brimming sense of eagerness kept the fall chill away. You continued down Main Street for a few blocks, but soon had to turn down a side road. Wherever the special place was, it took longer to get there than the town and your school. It was beyond Golden Grove. The farther you went, the more the forest took control out of the land again. People-made structures retreated among the vibrant leaves, becoming fewer and fewer in number. Actually, it was a similar looking path to the one that led into your own neighborhood. Part, part of you wondered if this was a huge prank by Chew and you'd end up right where you started. Most of most of you was just joke, but most of you was just joking yourself. Instead, opening to hidden neighbor, Instead of opening to a hidden neighborhood, the road you taken to came to the Sun Beach parking lot. The only building left to sight was the diner table diner. Oh, that's why it was so familiar to you. You hadn't only been through the streets that were similar, you'd gone down the exact way before, but in a car and at night. And now you were there again. On your own 2 feet, you'd gone out to the very outskirts of the human civilization. At the end of being an old-fashioned and just plain old American food restaurant. In the giant, in the entire giant lot, you had more fingers on one hand than there were cars parked. All three of the vehicles were clustered together in a single section out of the way. Chu took a few more steps forward, splitting off from the group gathered at the edge of the lot. There's a trail a little bit past here. It leads all the way up to the mountains. His words projected loud through the wide open space. He raised his arms up with a sound. A wall of rustling branches from the distance framed the silhouette of Chu's back. The forest looked impossibly thick that far from town. If you hadn't just been told there was a way through, you would have thought no one could go further. The Red Fox Ridge Trail. That's its name. Me and my brother and our mom and dad go hiking there sometimes. Chu twisted his head over one shoulder, showing the edge of a bright grin. There's biking trails too, though I'm not allowed to go ride them yet. I've got to be older. He fought the thumb and the rest of his fingers up and down against each other in a mocking imitation of his parents' passive admonishment. It's too dangerous for a kid. What if you crashed? What if no one found you? The mountain isn't a joke. Ironically, he was making a joke out of the not a joke warning. Chu's yakety yak hand puppet shifted into a single arm shrug. At least we can walk. That sounds cool. It is, for sure. Chu's eyes started to wander then. He slowly turned his head and looked out across the lot. Oh, it's too bad Uncle probably isn't working. He does the late shift. We could have said hi. And maybe gotten more free drinks? If he was here, we wouldn't have a choice but to say hi. Uncle keeps a close eye on what happens in his turf. Nothing gets past him. He'd have to come out by now to talk to us. Himself. Chu twirled around to face the four of you properly. He ended the spin by firmly planting his foot on the ground. If attention wasn't already on him before, it was then. After gaining the attentive audience, Chu launched into a dramatic, according to him, tale. One time, a few papers from my notebook fell into the parking lot or something. I know that because when I was passing by a difficult time, Uncle called me over to give them back to me. That never happens. He said that definitively, insistently, only to immediately lighten up on the guarantee. Except for around Reggie and Tamarack, you two always make them appear out of thin air. Darren and Baxter tried to look out of the corner of their eye. Chu was much too distracted by his own storytelling to catch it. Darren's mouth tensed, Baxter's quirked up more. You'd begun to wonder if Chu's friends were simply too nice or too nervous to point out how Chu's lost papers every other day. Those two must have seen it happen 100 times, and somehow Chu remained certain it was an impossibility. Maybe the other club members returned his notes in secret. Oh well, we don't have time for conversation today anyway. The finish line is right ahead. He threw a rallying fist into the air. You snickered to yourself. Chu didn't know when he dropped things or when he was the one using up all the time talking. That was the final stretch of your journey commenced. The diner table was left behind, and so was Golden Grove entirely. The road you followed had no sidewalk. There was only a thin, rocky edge that separated Tamarack from wilderness. Luckily, it was devoid of cars, as the parking lot had been. The only people passing through were a group of 5 kids. You wandered along until the patch of dirt opened out on one side of the street. There was the tilted sign with a fresh coat of dust declaring that this was the head of Red Fox Ridge Trail, 6.8 miles and 1,456 feet of elevation gain. You spied a narrow path curling through the brushes and tree trunks. It soon disappeared past where you could see. The way it unfolded made a streak of pebbles feel playful, like the red fox of the ridge had left it behind only minutes ago and was daring you to chase after its route. Through here, Darren was suddenly in front of your eyes. It was a startling appearance to come after your imaginations. His spiky blonde hair and orange sweater was oddly fox-like. Now that I look at him, I guess that his personality kind of does remind me of Tails from Sonic. Yeah, now that I think, he's probably the Tails to choose Sonic, if you think about it, which probably makes Baxter Knuckles. The Red Fox boy screwed up his face in confusion. Darren almost asked what that was about, but didn't. He kept going. You all did. There was no going back now. Advancing under the canopy dense enough to cover the entire sky, you made your way through the forest. No one spoke during that trip. Not Chu to explain anything, not Tamarack to ask when you'd be there. Past the sounds of footsteps and snapping twigs, you can hear the bubbling of water. It became more and more clear until the woods parted, smoothed away by an old stone bridge, as though the earth was wearing a beret in its leafy hair. A beret in its leafy hair. Homely set of stairs led to a trickling stream below. There was no mistaking it. This was a special thing. Alright, okay, so I think that is a good time for us to stop for now. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to leave a like, comment what you think, share this video with your friends, and be sure to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss a single notification. I'll see all of you in the next video. Goodbye!
You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a